You're very welcome to the Irish Political Roundup with me, Roisin the Cleric.
And me, Paul Brophy. Roisin, who do we have on this evening and what will we be discussing?
Well, Paul, as you can see by my t-shirt, we are talking about women's sport and about saving women's sports and women's places in Ireland, especially in women's sport. And tonight we are talking to Danielle Loughrey, who is from my neck of the woods up in Buncrana, just down the road from Derry. And Daniela is a member of the LGFA player up there in Buncrana. And we're going to talk about women's spaces and women's sport because for the last year, is it a year or is it more? The whole world has been in uproar from men playing in women's sport. It started off with a swimming competition, with cycling, and with all sports. And we were talking about it last week as well with Senator Ger Crockwell. So we're continuing on the story because it's hot and it's topical at the moment, Paul.
Yeah, absolutely. And Daniela, thanks a million for taking the time to talk to us here on the Irish Political Roundup. You're involved with Gaelic games and particularly Gaelic football in Donegal. You've been fairly active on social media, highlighting kind of the what would you say, the difficulty that you see with a certain with a policy that has been introduced by the Ladies Gaelic Football Association.
Yeah, the LGFA introduced its transgender policy back in February of this year, which was a little bit of a shock, I think, to everybody involved in the LGFA and even the bigger circle of GA and the Camogie Association. We don't really know why there was such a push on and a quick push from the LGFA to get this policy made and put out there. But already we can see that it's causing a lot of issues, or I don't know how you want to describe it, for members. There's a lot of questions being left unanswered about why it's been taken in and the wording of the policy and different things like that there. So we're trying to get a bit more info out of the LGFA on why, who, how has this all come about. But
what is the backstory, Danielle, to that? What happened that caused this, just for our viewers?
Yeah, well, the backstory would be in September 2022, in part of the Dublin LGFA, there was a Junior J championship game that was played. And during the game, the referee stopped the match and called the captains and the managers of the two teams involved in and says, "I'm sorry, but I had to stop the game because there's a male on one of the teams." So that's where it all came about. This then, the game was allowed to be played, but it did cause a lot of media uproar at the time. There was lots of stuff saying, how did this happen? There wasn't a policy in place, so the ref didn't know how to deal with the situation. That other team, I'm sure you may have seen the photographs of that young girl, playing against the male, and you can see straight away that the imbalance was there, the unfairness of it was there. But why the LGFA then from that, like they, shortly after the media uproar was about that, the LGFA did make a statement saying that they're currently working on a policy along with their counterparts in the GAA and other sporting bodies. So they did say that, but there was no mention of it. There was no mention of this policy in other GAA circles. There was no talk of it. They didn't contact managers, players, or anybody at grassroots level. It was only then in early sorry, Paul. Yes.
Sorry, and as regards, like, when you're putting together a policy, I mean, anything, you would consult your stakeholders. Was there any consultation with yourselves?
No, nobody's come forward. There was no consultation with players, coaches, managers, county boards. The LGFA did say they held a comprehensive consultation, but with who, we don't know, because they say as this was a legal obligation that they had to put this policy in place, that they didn't have to consult with the bigger membership of the LGFA.
So just to get, because I'm getting my head around this, like a lot of people.
Like all of us.
there was, now I know nothing about GAA, and if you put a hurl in my hand, it'd be like a weapon of mass destruction, a hurley or anything, camogie or anything. Because in Derry, we didn't grow up with, as you know, up in Derry, we didn't grow up with camogie or GAA, but now there is about 5 clubs in Derry City. But to get my head around this, so there was an LGFA match in Dublin, wasn't there? And then there was an Italian player who, how did a man, what did he identify as a woman? Did he say he was a woman and that he had transitioned to transgender and that he was playing against women, a junior one for young girls, going through puberty, going through everything else, the different bone structure. And the referee, in all his logic, stopped the game. I'm getting my head around this. Stopped the game. And yet, why was he the man still allowed to play? Why was he allowed?
Well, his club that he plays with said that he does identify as a woman, so they were going to keep playing. And then the ref and I suppose the other team at the time didn't really know what's the rules here, what is the policy here. There wasn't one in place, so they were left in a bit of a loop. So that's why the LGFA at that time said that they were now going to work on a trans policy. But like I said, like Paul asked the question, who did they consult with? They didn't consult with any other members. The next thing that we heard about a policy was at the start of February this year, the management of the LGFA sent out an email to all the county board secretaries to state that there was a central council meeting coming up and the transgender policy would be discussed at it. So as far as everybody kind of really thought from that this was now maybe the start of discussions, that people were going to be now asked their opinions on it. But lo and behold, at the central council meeting on the 15th of February, they had the policy written up, they had the documentation to go with it written up, and they were asked, everybody at that meeting, to vote on it that night. So everybody at that meeting had no time. They were there representing each of their county units, but they had no time to discuss it with the members in their county of how they should proceed with the vote on this. So it was voted on that night, and yes, it was voted in, but I know that since that, now that a lot of counties have realised what is actually in this policy and what it means, they have spoken up and have called for the LGFA to review it and to do something about it. But at the time, it was all just very quickly put through. Like the very next day after the meeting, the application form was live on the website that you could go on, download it, and get your application put straight in.
So no consultation. So what they said was then, it was the legal things and the rules, but common sense went out the window. So nobody used logic, common sense. Here was a man playing Gaelic sport against young women.
Yeah, there was no logic. They just seemed to want to cover themselves legally and through the safety of their female players under the bus. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah.
Like the LGFA was set up for women to play our national sport, but with this policy, I feel like they just threw that trust out the window.
Michael Collins was returning in his grave.
There's a lot of people, I would say, turning in their grave.
So, before, because I know nothing but it's about logic, but so what is the perception from your understanding of the young girls, teenagers, young small children and teenagers and women playing it within the GAA in Donegal and around Ireland?
Well, around Ireland, you see, I think the thing is a lot of people at the moment are afraid to say anything and aren't saying anything because they think that maybe this will never happen at their club. So this is an issue for the bigger towns, the bigger cities. So they're afraid to say anything. And they're also afraid to say anything in case there is some sort of repercussions for their club or for their county. And like it's just, yeah, it's very unbelievable how it's all come about.
Yeah, and the most bizarre thing is you have the LGFA, you have the GAA, and you have the Camogie Association, and they're three both all three separate bodies.
Paul, I think we lost you there for a moment. Could you repeat the question?
Sorry, I beg your pardon. For our listeners out there who might be aware, the LGFA, the GAA, and the Camogie Association, they're all three separate bodies, and now they are working to eventually try to bring them under the one umbrella. But do you know if there's policies similar to this in the GAA or the Camogie Association, or is the LGFA kind of going out on their own here?
Yeah, at this point in time, Paul, it seems the LGFA has gone out on their own here on this, even with talk of the amalgamation of the three associations coming together. I've put the question to the GAA and the Camogie Association going, okay, if amalgamation takes place, are you happy to stand by this policy? You know, given that the Camogie Association also covers a female sport, will they be happy as if amalgamation comes about? Are they going to be forced to take this policy on board as well, or are they going to be allowed to come up with their own? And another thing, like the GAA haven't released any policy, you know, from female to male change either. So there's no policy with them either. So it seems that the LGFA on their own have come up with this. Even Sport in Ireland, who's like the NGO over them all, hasn't come out with any sort of guidance for sporting bodies in Ireland about how to word their policy or what to put into it. So where the LGFA have got their information and why they've put it out there now so soon, well.
I don't know if we take the FAI, the Irish ladies soccer team, who did extremely well to qualify for the Women's World Cup in New Zealand and Australia. I don't know if there's a policy there as regards that. And when you have a biological male playing against women, there automatically is an unfair advantage straight away.
Oh, there is indeed. There's numerous different studies that you could name and whatnot, but even just using your own eyesight, you can see the difference straight away that, males, once they go through puberty, are taller, stronger, faster, bigger hearts, bigger lung capacity, even bigger hands for catching that ball coming in. There's just numerous different advantages that a male is going to have coming into a female sport. You could go on and on and on about it, and I'm sure you've probably heard it so much, but there is. And like bases of the LGFA policy too have based it on a testosterone level.
Okay.
Which to me, women are not just a testosterone level. And it's very outdated. They've used a parameter of, I believe it's 10, let me see if I get this right, 10 nanomoles per liter is what a transgender woman coming in has to be below. But yet for any woman, hers will rarely hit 2.5, never mind going above. And for a woman, if she hits 5 nanomoles per liter or above, she's classed as doping and she will be banned from the sport. But yet these transgender women coming in under the LGFA policy are allowed to have double that.
So men are allowed to come in with higher testosterone levels.
Much
And
higher.
if I'm just simplifying this for the listeners. So a man identifying as a woman coming in to play sport has a higher testosterone level, and that's okay, that's fine. But if a female, a younger teenager or girl or woman has a level above 5, that comes under doping, but a man can have a 10, and that's there's from man playing football, playing sport against young girls and teenagers and women, and then from even the testosterone level, there's inequality there.
Yeah. And I've asked the LGFA for clarity on, why is there a difference? How is that to be handled? But I haven't had any. They basically said, I'll refer to the anti-doping laws, but the anti-doping laws to me specifically say anything over 5 for a woman is doping. So I don't know where they get the 10 for a trans-identifying male coming in to play a female sport as being okay.
Totally out kilter. And I suppose it raises issues around like insurance and things like that. So like if you have a biological male playing against females, you know, it's a physical sport. They're going to up for a ball, or a sliotar if they're playing camogie, but with this instance we say it's football. You know, someone is going to get hurt, and that's going to open a whole other can of worms as well.
Yeah, the insurance is a good one now, because I have also asked the LGFA about that, and they have specified that, well, anybody registered with the LGFA as a player is going to be covered by the injury fund. So, okay, we're going to be covered by that injury fund, but having now male bodies playing in female sports, I'm sure the insurance policy premium is bound to be hiked, whether there's a claim or not. Just the fact that they know that this is a higher risk is there. So what I would like to know then is, how are the LGFA going to pay for this premium? Are we going to, you know, over the next while see a knock-on effect on our membership costs and our entry fee costs? Because they obviously, I don't know, like, I don't obviously know for sure, but I would imagine the insurance premiums will be hiked up within the next while.
Right, yeah, so it really is a kind of an unknown as well. And I suppose another thing as well, particularly in ladies sport, in GAA, it's not uncommon to see 15, 16-year-olds on a on a on a on an adult ladies team.
Yeah, it would be quite common, especially when you're going out into more rural clubs where, you know, you just don't have the numbers. Maybe town and city clubs wouldn't have as many younger girls. But yeah, if you're going out into rural clubs, the chances are you're going to have, you know, a couple of 15, 16-year-olds in your panel. You are going to have under 18s in your panel. And the fact now that they may at some point down the line also have to have a male in their changing rooms, never mind, you know, the risk that they will have to take on the playing field. You know, it's a risk that's there. I don't know how they've calculated it out. I don't know how the insurance is handling it for them. But to me, it's a big risk, and it's a huge jump.
So how are they going to I'm thinking it's bad enough that your child is playing sport against a man with higher testosterone levels and the bone density, muscle, and that determination and that force. But then to think that your young child is going into a changing room, undressing, getting changed, having a shower, going to the bathroom with a male in the room. There's a bit of an arrogance from the player identifying as a girl, a female. There's a bit of arrogance in that. That's what I'm just thinking. What must be going through all the parents' heads?
Yeah, well, I do know there's plenty of parents who have come to me personally and says that even though there's no trans-identified male in our club at the minute, but there is a couple of parents who have refused to re-register their daughters as LGFA players, because this says until the LGFA changes the policy to protect everybody, their daughters won't be playing. Now, I have even asked the LGFA, and I've sent them numerous emails with numerous questions in them. And I asked them, you know, if a trans-identifying male is on your team or on the opposition team, how are the clubs to handle the facilities like the changing rooms and the showers and everything like that? And their response was, Lydia, I just looked, yeah, I make sure I have it right.
Tell us, this is going to be fun.
Just give me 1 second. I did write it down somewhere. No, I'm not going to be able to find it now, I bet you.
Oh, we'll wait. We'll wait.
Yeah.
Because Paul, I know nothing. Paul and I ramble while you're putting that, while you're finding that. But Paul, as you know, I know nothing about GAA. But what I do know is about women and being a woman and being a mother as well, from a very sporty daughter and a son who played camogie, and Naomi played for O'Loughlin's, and Keelan as well. He played for, you know, just himself and for the school. But I would not be one bit impressed.
Oh, you'll be extremely uncomfortable, and definitely it is a massive grey area, and it's something that if it's not cleared up in the next while, it's going to cause a lot of problems.
So I found it here now, Roisin and Paul. So the question I asked was, if an applicant is successful, what procedures and advice will clubs get in relation to facilities like changing rooms, toilets, showers? Their response was, all registered players have access to club facilities. That was it. Full stop.
Very
No.
ambiguous.
Very
Very ambiguous and
ambiguous. And
vague.
what does that mean? Does that mean, yes, okay, then this meal's allowed in, and that's that? That's
Who,
what
who's advising these people? Who is their advisors?
I don't know. But it's trying to get any response out of them is like getting blood out of a stone. I first sent my queries to them through my club back in, it was probably about April this year. And I didn't get these replies until the 17th of July. And
Right.
even at that, the replies were sent to my county board chairperson and secretary. And they were told that they could only read the replies out to me. I was not to get a copy of the email, and they could not even print it out and hand it to me, even though I was the person who initiated the questions and the responses. They were told under no circumstances was I to get this email. So I
Wow.
had to sit my county board secretary down and have her read out every response and reply over and over and over again until I had it all written down.
Right. There's something very clandestine there.
I don't know how you describe that or what. I imagine if you sent an email with queries, that eventually those answers should come back to you, not to somebody
Oh yeah,
else.
yeah.
Yeah.
If you're the one that asked the questions in the first place, you know, with basic manners to reply to you directly.
But
So
surely under data protection, that you have a right to actually write to the board and ask for a copy of the email.
Yeah, I will be able to do that. I haven't done that at this point yet, but
Yeah.
because I've never done that, I've never applied for anything through the GDPR to get that information. So that's new to me. But I've spoken to somebody about how do I do it? Is it as simple as writing a letter or what? So, but I'll be in the process of getting that information as well so that I can have it all in hand, because I just don't understand how you can't just reply to someone who's asked you a question without all this rigmarole in between.
Danielle, how do the young girls feel about this? What are they saying, even quietly?
Yeah, well, it is. It's all very quietly because a lot of them are young. They don't
Oh,
want to
God
rock the
love
boat
them.
with anybody, you know. I'm of the older generation, so I'm now just, yeah, I'll say whatever, you know. I'm at that stage in life. But a lot of them, no, they're not liking it. They says they know it may never happen in our club, but there's LGFA clubs around the world. How many girls do we know are immigrating to different clubs in America, across Europe and Australia? But this policy covers there as well. So, you know, it's not on it, like we talk about it, it's not right, it's not fair.
It's
It doesn't
immoral. It's immoral.
it's immoral. It doesn't protect our girls, our sisters, or daughters, or friends. Yeah.
Surely every club has a Child Protection Act and a Child Protection
Oh yeah,
Officer.
has to.
Right? So surely there's a breach here between the Child Protection Officer and a Child Protection Policy and what is actually happening, having a male in the changing room and playing sport.
Yeah, every club does have a child protection officer, but so far the advice, if you want to call it advice, coming from the LGFA is just that, you know, anybody who's a registered player with the LGFA has access to all the facilities. So it doesn't specify then, you know, any changes to the child's, you know, welfare procedures. Then is there a, no, it's all very vague. They won't come out and specify any procedures for the clubs. Now, it has, the LGFA has said if any club has any queries in relation to the policy, you know, get in touch. Now I'm like, but we have been getting in touch, but you're not getting back with any specific answers to it. There's answers like refer to the policy, refer to the documents, refer to this and that. And you're like, but them policies and them documents that we're talking about were put in place before this one. So I'm assuming now that there's going to be males players on our female teams, that there has to be some sort of changes to the safeguarding policies. But They haven't made any procedural differences and given no advice to clubs about how to handle this if it happens in their club.
Well, if I was a parent, I would get parents go on strike, and parents actually let's start putting down the law and telling them that there's no matches until this is all sorted out. And surely you have sponsors as well. Do you have sponsors?
Yeah, well, every county and every club and everything like that will have different sponsors, and then the LGFA themselves have a number of bigger sponsors, that come in, and there's a lot of ham and hand about a few of those sponsors. Where has the money coming from then for this policy, different little things. But like they say, follow the money. Now, I haven't been able to, I don't know how to do all that, but there's definitely questions to be asked there as well about how they feel about the whole thing.
And Paul, just one more question. I'll come back to you then, because from a PR perspective, I'm thinking if you have private companies who Ireland loves sponsoring our sports. We love getting in there and sponsoring local communities for local people, for local clubs. If something untoward happened to a young girl or to a woman from a man identifying as a woman, which she can't identify, there's only two genders, there's male and there's female. And that is the view of the Irish Political Roundup, that there's only two genders. So if a company sponsors and something happens, that's going to cause a PR crisis for the sponsorship as well. So it's going to cause their company and their sponsors into disrepute and a PR crisis.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Sorry, over to you now. I'll be good now.
And you're okay. And Daniel, could you see a situation where, like, say you had a man who might be who was maybe an average Gaelic footballer, let's say, and he decides, so I could transition to become a woman, I could play the women's team, and I could be quite good, and I could, that's a bit unfair too, isn't it?
There is a chance that something like that could happen. You're seeing that in sports across the board, especially if you look at the likes of Canada, America, and Australia. That is what's happening in a lot of sports, especially even across the cycling world, that men who were way down the rankings in their sport are now suddenly in the top 10 in the female section. Now, I know, Gaelic football is an amateur sport, but I go down and I watch the men play and I watch the reserve men play, and I'm still thinking some of them, there's men out there who an average male player is still going to be better than an average to even good female player. Simple for the fact he's always going to be first in the ball. He's always going to be higher up to catch the ball. So that it can happen. I would like to think that the majority of people out there wouldn't just do that and get their gender recognition cert just to prove themselves better in sports. But we have seen it happen on numerous times in different sports. So it is only a matter of time that if this policy isn't changed,
it happened in Canada.
It will happen.
The weightlifting champion, female weightlifting champion in Canada is a female. Sorry, is a biological male, but he entered the category just to prove point how ridiculous their system was, and he won.
Yeah, I can't remember his name, but I do remember reading about that. That he was going to prove a point and identify as a female and go in, and that's what he did. He beat everybody, but to prove a point, this was just ridiculous. We are not equal when it comes to things like physicality and sports and strength. We're just not.
Could you even imagine, how, like, GAA is a rough sport. So, it's really rough. And could you imagine just even a man playing on the women's team, and he just even doing that, the force of that onto the girl, even like, or even getting the hurley and just whacking it, and even the force of being hit with anything or the ball.
Yeah, like the LGFA will try and say that, ladies Gaelic football isn't a physical sport. It's a non-contact sport, but it's it is a contact sport.
But
You know, at some level, like myself and my husband here,
Yeah.
we have two young kids. We'd be out in the garden, we'd be messing around, and he's not even trying that hard. But yet, the amount of times I've been flattened to the ground, you know what I mean? And that's just us messing about. So you put that into a competitive level. I would not want to be the woman on the receiving end of that.
No.
Just no. Like, and I know the GRA does have a lot to answer for with the Irish government. They need to really step up and do something there as well, because a lot of, like, the LGFA have come back and they said, oh, well, under section 18, you see, of the GRA, that once you have your certificate, you're classed as being that gender that you identify as. And that is what we really need.
A certificate.
Yes,
a certificate. Anyone can go and a certificate. We all know we're going to do a course. Oh, I want to identify. A certificate is nothing but a piece of paper. It is like an IOU. It's not worth the paper. The paper. It's not worth the paper it's written on. Yeah,
but unfortunately, under the GRA at the minute, it's got a lot more clout than it should have, and that's where we really need to push.
And for our listeners and viewers out there, GRA, that stands for the Gender Recognition Act, which came in 2015.
And was rushed in as well. It was rushed in. And, you know, there was no clarity on that. It was put through before anybody even knew that the GRA was put through.
So I do think we as a nation not only need to put pressure on the LGFA to say, okay, you put this policy out there way too early before any other sporting body had even come up with a policy. Sport Ireland hadn't come up with any ideas, you know, on a policy. And we also need to push the government to either repeal or at least amend the Gender Recognition Act, because I think now, okay, we're nearly 10 years into it, but it shows now how it's not fit for purpose. That if a male can just get his certificate and play in whatever female team that he wants and enter whatever female facility that he wants, then obviously it is not fit for purpose and something needs to be done. Like you spoke to Senator Ger Caldwell, he was even saying recently, all he has to do is write his wee letter to the minister, get his certificate and go into whatever female space he fancies. That is how easy it is, and that's what needs to be stopped. But the LGFA can't be behind that one simple little scenario of, oh, well, sure, it's written in the GRA, so we're going to do it. Why they had to be the first to do it, why they pushed to get this policy out there and cause this, I don't know. I just wonder, is there someone at the top of the LGFA on the management team who is being asked to push this through? Are they looking to put a wee notch into their CV so that whenever they're finished with the LGFA, are they suddenly going to be the CEO of TENI or belong to? Are they just looking to further their careers that way and leave the LGFA up the creek that it's in with this policy?
And surely too, if anybody...
That's a very interesting point.
Yeah. Because there's a conflict of interest there between TENI, belong to, and even pharmaceuticals with puberty blockers as well. Because anybody who's identifying as a woman and all going on puberty blockers, they're going to be hormonal. With their testosterone levels and hormones affecting them, their mood swings and everything else. They're going to be so much more aggressive. And I'm thinking now, has Save Ireland not come out and made a statement? Has Women's Aid or any women's advocacy group not come out and made a statement about this?
No, women's advocacy groups are actually very quiet on the subject. If anything, a lot of the women's advocacy groups that I've come across are nearly leaning the other direction. So I don't know if it's funding reasons or where their stuff's coming in. But do you look at the National Women's Council of Ireland? They don't represent women at all anymore. I don't know what they would need to rename themselves, but it's definitely not the Women's Council of Ireland anyway, that's for sure.
Well, they have a male identifying as a woman on the board, and they're not standing up or speaking up or showing up for women's rights. They're claiming to, and I've spoken to Orla O'Connor numerous times on local radio here in Kilkenny when I was a presenter on the radio, and it's unbelievable that and politicians. Female politicians can't even identify what a woman is. This is female politicians. And Roger O'Gorman. Today, it's plain to see. Please go to Twitter and look up Great. You will see where Ben Scanion is asking Minister Roger O'Gorman. He even just go to ask him, and Roger O'Gorman is rolling his eyes up at even the question of a woman. You have a Minister of Children and Youth rolling his eyes up and sighing because he's been asked a question about women and children.
Yeah, and it's not a hard question to answer. It shouldn't be a hard question to answer. I mean, it's quite a simple one. I often think as well, we're always asking that question, what is a woman? Well, let them also ask me, well, what is a man then? You know, what is a man? Paul, are you a man?
I certainly am.
Yeah, I'm a woman. We know what it is, Roisin. You're a woman. I don't understand how it is hard for them to not see and to know and to do that. And if you can tell me then what a man is, well, you know that man does not belong in women's facilities, no matter where they are. Yeah, it's one of those conundrums we may never get to the bottom of, that they can't answer a simple question.
And when you think about it, you have young girls who are very self-conscious of their bodies. You have young girls, and I'm going to say it, they have their periods, they're menstruating, and they could have a show, they could have anything, and there's a male in the room, and he could go out and say, oh, your woman's on a period. Oh, what's wrong with you? Are you on your period? That always happens. So that's going to happen as well. So there's, you know what? I think all these women's advocacy groups, I think Safe Ireland should stand up and show up, Women's Aid. And wow, there's definitely conflict of interest with the Child Protection Agency.
Absolutely.
Right, Paul.
Yeah, and Danielle, for men that are would say they want to identify as a woman, could more be done in male sports to kind of make it, more, to become a bit more understanding to their needs, because it's not fair that they enter into a female sporting field for a variety of different reasons, but should more be done to kind of help them and ensure that they're playing in the correct sport for their body type.
Oh, you're absolutely right, Paul. Yeah, I would encourage all sporting bodies, across, that have their male, female categories, then make the norm, it's not make, but help the non-conforming sort of males or females in your membership, make them more at home in the correct sex category. Do something to make that male who isn't stereotypically male to feel more at home with his male counterparts playing a male sport. Same vice versa, the other direction. There definitely could be something more done there to make them feel more welcome in the sport of their actual sex category. And even things like I mentioned before, the LGFA came into existence 50 years ago in 1974, but it was created for women because we didn't have a place. So how sporting bodies can't get together and create another sporting category for them to make them more at home, make another open category, or do something, but not give away our female sports and our female rights to make the men happier. We should be looking to find a way of making things more open for them in their correct categories.
Look, the way I look at it, we should make people feel.
Yes, simple as that.
But then
female and
there's
open,
only
you see
two.
that
There's
happen
male,
too.
there's female, and that's it. I mean, when is this nonsense going to stop? When is it just going to stop? Because I've noticed that, see any teenager going to school under 16, from 16 and under, they say to me they are fed up going into the classroom, going into school, and the transgender ideology being pushed on them when they don't want it and it's uncomfortable for them and they don't want to talk about it. But it's being pushed on them from government right the way down the channels. When is it going to stop? It has to stop.
I don't know when it's going to stop, Roisin, but all we can keep doing is keep putting the word out there and keep saying, like, the majority of the people are not happy with the way things are going. That yes, we know there are transgender people out there, and that's fine. I'm not saying they don't exist or they don't have any rights at all, but I'm just saying they don't have a right to take away the
No.
safety of my child or my daughter over anybody else's. We need to sort of come up with a collaborative way of keeping things equilibrium, but providing them with what they need at the same time.
And at the same time, we need to say, if somebody wants
Yeah,
to
and
transition after 21, when a man's body and bones is 21, some say 30. I would say 30, really, you know, but like, but even 18 is too young for a teenager to say, or younger, I'm transitioning, I'm changing my body gender. There's only sex, there's male and female. But surely, you know, it's nonsensical that a teenager is identifying as a male. You could have anyone just deciding, I'm going to identify as a male. It's actually so immoral. And what I get really, really sort of concerned about is the fact that it has silenced women, it's silenced girls, and it's also silenced men. And it's silenced parents from speaking up for the rights and protection of their children.
Mm-hmm.
That's what gets me so angry, you know. And I'm angry. Do you know what? It's justifiable anger. We need to get angry, and we need to speak up and show up and stand up.
Yeah.
And stop this nonsense.
And Danielle, where do you see
easier
things?
said than done, I suppose.
And where do you see things going with this policy? I assume it'll be a hot topic when the LGFA conference happens in 2020 or 2024.
Oh, well, the LGFA will do their best to make sure that it's not even a topic that's on the agenda. They will try their best, I am sure, to avoid that at all costs. I think it's hard to know what way it's going to go. All I know is, I can tell you, is I'm still pushing from my end. I still have questions to be sent, to be asked. I will still be campaigning and speaking to whoever I can and wherever I can to get the issue across, that this is not something that's just going to go away, and that if the LGFA have this policy in there now, okay, it's there, but it also needs to be reviewed immediately, because like I says, even the testosterone levels that they have in there are so outdated compared to even other policies that are in existence. And I think we need to just keep our voices out there, like you say, Roisin, just save women's sports, keep talking, keep standing up, wee bit by wee bit.
Save women's sports. And I think what really gives me hope too, so many men are such really, it goes back to the suffragettes. We've gone back 100 years. All that work and effort and the everything, and women died and men died for the suffragettes 100 years ago. When you think about it, just over 100 years ago, we have backtracked to that with this fake Me Too movement, with this fake feminism, which is not feminism. It came out of Hollywood to cover up the Harvey Weinstein debacle. So, and it's up to us, to the other people of Ireland, to actually write into the, I better get this wording right, the LGFA. It's up to, maybe everyone should start sending emails and start phoning them, sending emails and tweeting and everything to the LGFA and say, this is not acceptable.
Yeah, that's exactly it. As we have to just keep pushing it, get it out there. I bet you there's still a lot of parents and people across this country and further afield that don't even know that this policy is out there and in existence, because the LGFA has put it through quite quickly and quite sort of quietly. And people are hoping that it'll just go away, but it won't.
Yeah. You know, it's like sneaky little part. We'll just sneak it in and we'll have it in there when nobody thinks is looking or listening, and we'll just quietly sneak it in. Where is the integrity?
I only found out about it about 2 weeks ago.
Pardon, Paul?
I'll admit I only found out about this policy only about 2 weeks ago.
Paul's sick of me texting him and phoning him and sending stuff.
But that's it. And Paul, you reclass yourself. You follow GAA, you follow the sport, but it's still one of those things that got past you without realizing it was even there. And that's why we need to just get it out there as much as possible so that people in LGFA, GAA, camogie circles and any sporting field in Ireland to realise that if one of these sporting bodies have this policy and that can have a detrimental effect and a knock-on across the rest of them. So we need to speak now, put our foot down and say, no, we're not happy, that we need to come up with another way of creating an open category for them or make them more comfortable in their category of sex, of female or male, that they can't be. We don't want males in our female sports.
You see, they can't go into
there's a
another
reason why
category.
male and female compete in their own category.
Yes.
They can't, because they won't have. What is the percentage of males identifying as women? It's a very small percentage. So they wouldn't be able to make up a team, one team, or maybe two teams. They wouldn't have. That's nonsensical. It's like the Green Party had 7% of the national vote, and I'm going to use the holding the government by the short and curlies. I mean, the holding the government by the short and curlies, and I'm using it because, right? And now you got, what is it, 5%? I stand to be corrected, of men identifying as women. Why is such a small percentage of political vote controlling Ireland and policies? They can't have another gender because there isn't enough people identifying. There isn't enough powers of men who don't want to go into their own sport in case they get hurt, and they want to go into women's sport. I'm calling it as I see it. Go if you want to play sport. Go be a man or be whatever, but go and play in your own sport, in your own category. There isn't enough. You wouldn't be able to get a team. Clubs. That's why. So they're imposing upon women. Sorry, I'm really sorry, Danielle. I'm sorry.
No, I understand your frustration and your anger. I'm just trying to do my best to not let it creep the whole way to the top and say something I shouldn't. But maybe I should say it at the same time, Roisin. Maybe I should.
I can say, you see, this is why we're silenced, because there are political and social and justice repercussions, which is a load of baloney. And it is immoral. There's no moral compass. Where has Ireland's core values gone? Where have they gone politically and sporting wise?
Get a program out of that.
Yeah, that's a whole nother episode itself there.
Danielle, you're on. So Danielle, because I'm getting very you know what? It's absolutely ridiculous. I'm going to Let Women Speak. If any listeners are here or viewers, there is a Let Women Speak event on in the city, in the centre of Dublin on the September the 16th. It's a Saturday at 12 p.m.
I actually have a copy of the flyer in front of me. I can show it to our listeners.
Would you show it, Paul? Do. Yes. Show it up a little bit more, Paul. It's a little bit blurred.
Go back a bit. Yeah.
Yes. Bring it back just a little bit more, Paul. Let Women Speak. A little bit more. Isn't that a beautiful poster? Let women speak. And we have been silenced. When you look at that picture of a woman, a beautiful woman, silenced.
I don't think we're going to be silent much longer.
No. The Celtic Divine Feminine, we have risen. Women of Ireland are rising.
No, I'm hearing.
Put it back a bit more, Paul. Yeah. What we'll do is we'll also put this in the, I'll put it in the thumbnail as well. So remember, Saturday, put it in the diary, Saturday, the 16th of September at 12 o'clock in the centre of Dublin. I think it's it. So be there and at the back of the Doyle. Show up. Show up for the women, children, and for men. This just isn't a war against women or children. It's a war against men as well. It's demasculizing men. Is there such a word? Demasculizing? Is there? It's taking that masculinity away from men too, isn't it?
Might have created a word.
Yeah. So, Paul, what do you think of it,
Yeah.
Paul? As a man, I'm curious, Paul.
Man,
What do you think of all this men playing in women's sports? And you live across the road from a GAA pitch.
I live not too far away from one yet. Yeah, you're starting into a very, very grey area. My big
Grey
concern would
area,
be
Paul. We're gonna have
what
a domestic on air here. A grey area,
the
Paul.
grey area in the sense
No,
is,
there's no such thing as a grey area. It's either one or the other. It's either male or female.
well, the biggest difficulty I see is the fact that, as Daniel alluded to, sorry, as Danielle said, even the whole testosterone level and the male body, like there is a reason why male and female compete in their own categories. You know, they're different makeups. And my biggest concern, and I think this will be when the SHIT hits the fan, is when someone gets very, very seriously hurt. And that's when I think we're going to see a big problem.
I think
That's
more,
what I see.
Paul. I don't think there's more to that than someone getting seriously hurt. There's about a woman's safety in a changing room.
Yeah, but
There
I
is-
think what
That's
Paul's sort of saying is that
Yeah.
the LGFA or people, the organizations won't take note until there possibly is a proper, a clash, that there is an accident as such. That's because when you start hitting them in their pocket when it comes to medical bills and legal stuff,
Yeah.
that might be the only time where the organizations will step up and go, oh God, maybe we did get this wrong. For now, they're happy to brush it under the carpet and say nothing about it. Now, I just hope that we will kick up enough of a fuss that it will not come to the stage that somebody has to get hurt before they take heed and pay attention to how outrageous this policy is.
Oh,
Something should be
girl.
done about it now first, because you can see in sports, I think in Scotland recently, sure, a couple of young girls got injured in a hockey game by a trans-identified
Yeah.
male playing on a female team. And when you look at that team in Australia, the rugby team, even though rugby has the policy of, transgender players are not allowed, there's still a club in Australia that is going against the rules and allowing it. And he has injured 3 or 4 people, women. I think one ended up in hospital. So it's happening. And I don't know why the LGFA thinks it won't happen here at some stage, but they're on skating on thin ice when it comes to something like that. But I hope that we put the pressure on them and the government can do something and Sport Ireland can do something and the GAA and the Camogie Association, that they can all come together and do something to change this before something like that does happen.
Yeah, and hopefully that no child, especially in the changing room as well, that nothing happens within the changing room. A girl isn't raped. I'm going to say it. A girl isn't raped. She isn't abused, and that would be another massive concern. And really, that what you've also said is very true, Danielle. Is you have to hit them where the pocket is, and that is also the sponsorship. Once the sponsors of the sporting events have a moral obligation as well, and if anything happens of anyone getting hurt, they will be also countersued within insurance with the sponsorships. Any company sponsoring them will also be countersued in the lawsuit as well. So there's so much. It's a big can of worms.
It's very big.
It's massive can of worms.
It's a snake pit. It's a snake
You can
pit.
only sort of attack one little head at a time as it pops out. It's hard to get your head around it all because there is so much in it. But you take it one step at a time. That's all I can do on my end, as I do bit by
You're
bit.
doing amazing work, Danielle. You're doing amazing work
We all do what we
highlighting
can.
this. And you're doing exactly what women want. You see, I also think too, there's so much social media and reality televisions and fake influences, and we don't have role models. I grew up in Derry, just up the road from you, and we had role models within our communities. We didn't have social media role models, influencers getting paid, and they spend all their day on Instagram and taking photographs and all that. We had real to women within our communities who are real role models. And we need to go back to that. Ordinary women doing extraordinary things. Danielle, that is exactly what you're doing. You're giving a voice to the voiceless.
Well, thank you very much, but you're putting me on a very high pedestal there. I don't know if I like it that high up.
It's the truth. And it's like us Irish, we can't take compliments, can we? But
No,
you are,
definitely not.
you know. And I would say a lot of mums and dads and young girls and children are just saying, yes, Danielle. And in years to come, you are, you know, a local hero. You're a hero in my eyes. You're not
Thank
just
you,
a local hero. And I'm not being biased because you're from Buncrana and I want Buncrana chips right now. But like,
Sounds good,
but
all right.
they're the nicest chips in the country, Paul, Buncrana chips. But it's true. You're being the role model that we grew up with. There's a big gap and there's lacking now. So thank you so much for that.
Like I says, we're bad at taking compliments, so I'll just say thank you and nothing else. Yeah.
Danielle, we're coming up to the end of the program. If there was 3 pieces of advice that you would give to parents and children, what would they be who are listening to this right now?
I think get in touch with your club, get in touch with your county board, have them relay your concerns to the LGFA. You need to speak up even if you know it's just a couple of questions that you think, oh, I don't know what it is, I just want clarity. Speak up, ask, don't be afraid. Number 2 would maybe be we have to start compelling the government to do something about the Gender Recognition Act. It's as simple as that. As it stands at the minute, it's not fit for purpose. And I think we just need to stand up for ourselves and for our sisters and for our mums and for our daughters. And, you know, don't be afraid of what you might be labeled. I've been labeled a number of different things, but I'm none of them things. I'm just a mum who's trying to do the best for her and her daughter and her family moving forward. And I think we can all just do the same. You know, there's so much support out there. I think on the level, everybody knows that what's happening is morally wrong at the way it's happening and how it's all come about. So I think we do just, like they say, stick your head above the carpet. It's going to be fine. You know, there's plenty of support out there. Just reach out and get it, and we can do this together.
We're in this together. It's now being taken over
Very
by the men, women, and children of Ireland. We're in this together, and we're going to, you know, it's about the identity of men and women and saving our children of our future. Reminds me of Whitney Houston.
Yes.
You know, doesn't it? Reminds me of Whitney Houston. The children are our future. Keep them well and safe. You know, maybe we should start using Whitney Houston. You know, what a great voice, what a great woman.
Indeed.
Paul, any last nuggets of wisdom from you and your expertise on GA? Because I know nothing about gated
Wisdom,
sports.
expertise, that's a bit of a stretch, but thanks William, Daniel, for coming on. As I said earlier on, I didn't even know about this up to a couple of weeks ago, and to think that there's a sporting body out there that is kind of, what we're trying to railrolling something in without consulting its stakeholders is crazy. And we appreciate you coming on the program this evening to talk about this. And from everybody here, we wish you every success into the future. And we will, as they say, you'll always have a platform here to come on and discuss this at any time.
No, well, that's brilliant, Paul. Roisin, thank you a million for having me on. And like I says, I will keep you updated on anything else that comes about, and we'll keep in touch, and hopefully we'll get there.
Well, you're my hero, and it's lovely that I have a new local hero from up home now. So thank you so much indeed.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Donegal for Sam next year.
Well, Jim's back, so
Jim is back.